Everyone, welcome to another panel by Cactus Jam Games. We are back after 1 year at the 2023 Migwa Steam Festival, and we actually released the game we were talking about last time, so welcome, welcome. We're going to be talking about that game, Every Hue of You, today, and reflections about it. So let me introduce myself. I am Julia, I am the art director and also lead illustrator for that game, and
And I'm Nidula, the creative director and a writer on the game. So a little intro for anyone who's unfamiliar. Every Hue of You is a visual novel which follows the deeply personal and thoughtful journey of Twyla, who's a jeweler who suddenly discovers one day the power to enchant her jewelry with the power of emotions.
yeah. And today for our panel, it's titled Every Few of You Reflections, and we're basically just going to answer some questions and cover a bit of the development process of the game, which we spent the past year and a half working on. So
Yes.
let's see. Let's go to the next slide. So here's a brief overview of what we're going to cover today. And I will start off with the first one, where and how it all began, basically. So, what sparked the concept of Every Hue of You? We get this question occasionally, and honestly, if we go really far back, um, we just graduated and we wanted to pitch different game concepts, and it was basically a combination of like Nidula, like he had this idea in his head, and also um, this
You had the
concept.
idea for the setting, right?
Yeah, the art style, the setting. Like we kind of already knew we wanted to do a visual novel, and we wanted it to be the shop based one, where you're basically just in one location for most of the time. And um, I wanted to do something that was cozy, um, but also very character focused. So this game idea that I had was like, oh, you get to talk to customers and you get to make something for them, in very loose terms, and like inspirations for like Coffee Talk and Ace Attorney and all this other stuff. So the base was already there, but Nidula was like the one who made it more, I guess, unique and special with this story that he had in mind. So, what was the story?
Yeah. So we started off with we wanted a visual novel that is in the like kind of subgenre of the shop type sale games like Coffee Talk and Valhalla is another one. But we wanted to kind of move away from the, I guess, what's expected in that subgenre. Um, and it started with Julia's idea of this like witch concept, which like this picture on the left, the top left, I think is speaks to it best. And then we also wanted the idea of jewelry because um, I guess even the witch concept, if you were selling like potions or something, that's been done before as well.
Yeah.
Um, so we wanted jewelry, and I was like, okay. Um, and then I went away and thought for a bit, and I realized I had an idea in the past that I could kind of incorporate into this, which is where this whole idea of emotional energy and so on um, got introduced into this game, into the concept. It was an idea from, wait, let's see. So 2021 is when I
Mhm.
published this
Oh, but it was like from
on
further back.
online, but I think I wrote it, yeah. So let's say the start of 2021, which is like, wait, 2021. Okay, last year is 2022. Yes.
So
So
last year of uni.
I guess it's
Okay.
around a year ago is
Yeah.
when the initial idea I came up with it, and then I was yeah. So this is like a little bit like a couple paragraphs of like a short story or just a like little doodle of a scene that I wrote up. You can't really see the idea of emotional energy that much here, but I guess that's what I was writing it with that in mind, and you can kind of notice the a couple things. So like spirits are the things in the game where everyone has a spirit, and that's the kind of vessel of that holds your emotional energy. Um, yeah, and then there's also other things like the outbursts and forces also show up in this short scene
Hmm.
a little bit too. But yeah, this is the origin of that emotional energy, and um, it's not an entirely novel idea, like this idea that emotions have power, and yeah, like your emotions have power and they have more consequence to them is kind of established. I feel like it's explored in some other games, but I suppose I wanted to go the route of seeing like um, what happens if your emotions have power and it can kind of cause a big outburst of your energy can cause it to possess like trees or like other natural forces, which is what we called it in the end, but just anything of nature. Um, and yeah, it cause them to kind of take on your emotions. So let's see, I don't know. In this story, I don't know if I even got to that part, but
I definitely could not see.
yeah, but I guess the idea initially was, if there's a tree and if you feel like lonely or something, which is an idea that shows up in the game, if you feel lonely and um, your energy gets possessed by a force nearby, like a tree, and then that tree will take on your energy and transform and manifest it in some way. So yeah, it becomes a reflection of your spirit. And unlike Every Hue of You, this short scene was from a different perspective. It was from something closer to Lao over here, something closer to his role. So yeah, it was focused on traveling around and solving these cases instead of being a jeweler and so on, and enchanting, which is what we ended up with, enchanting jewelry with emotions.
Mm.
Um, and that's how we combined the witch concept and the jewelry concept and this fantasy concept together and kind of merged it all together into this big, um, hopefully interesting mess,
Yeah, and
hopefully
that's
exciting
like
mess.
this is like after we finished the game. But when we started off, it was a little bit more vague, and somehow when we pitched it to other people, they got the idea and they believed in it, and we somehow like got funding for it, and we're like, yeah, let's go for it. You know, now it's published, so
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't an easy road, but we somehow got there.
yeah.
I mean, at the start, I think we were both somewhat naive and
Oh, definitely.
ambitious. Yeah, I think coming out of uni, we were just like, let's just try something. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Um, yeah. But yeah, in the end, somehow ended up here in around a year and a half. So, hey,
Yeah,
all is well that ends well, I guess.
something sounded
Um,
wrong there, but yeah.
yeah, all is well that ends well.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm a writer,
Yep.
apparently, not a speaker.
Keep
So I'll
speaking.
start a new game here while we talk.
Yes.
But do we want to move on to how this project kind of evolved throughout the development? I'll put it on auto here. Um,
Sure.
yes, so how the project evolved. I think one of the things I noticed immediately,
Mm-hmm.
um, and one of the things I kind of appreciate a lot is the UI, how clean the UI is. Our UI artist Sarah did a really good job on making um, all the little parts of the UI really clean. We also, in terms of how the project evolved, um, we spent a lot of time improving on and building a lot of these extra features, like the
Mm.
history tab. You can see here
There were some things that we weren't even like thinking about like adding in the beginning.
the glossary, which has nothing in the beginning
Yeah, but eventually
because
we
there's no terms
decided to add more
unlocked.
stuff, which I think added a lot to the game.
Yeah, so you can't see it here. I'll show it later. There's also keywords. Um, but yeah, all these little things, I guess, when you start, you don't consider them, but all these little things with the UI,
Mm-hmm.
um, Sarah did a great job
Yeah.
on fleshing out. And I guess um, as a developer, when we see the project evolving, we really like notice these things because you see them in their kind of scuffed, unpolished
Yeah.
state
I made the
for a
scuff
long
stuff. I
time.
made the scuff.
And then yeah, when it gets improved, you're like, oh, I don't have to look at
I
this
know. I will
scrappy
say
UI
that like
anymore.
we have to mention Supergiant here, like Paya and
Supergiant.
Hades for
Oh yes.
all of these cool features that you got inspired by and wanted to include to make that visual
Yeah.
novel
So
experience better.
it was mostly the keywords from Pyre, which we actually haven't gotten to a keyword yet. So I'll mention that when it comes up. But yeah, in terms of how the project evolved otherwise, I think one of the main things is the art, but you can speak to that
Oh
too.
yeah. Dude, it is like so jarring to see. You can even see it in like the panel last year where we like showed some art, but oh boy, like I didn't realize how, I don't want to say bad, but it was kind of bad, like in my opinion.
How in progress
Like,
it was.
I'm not gonna lie, a part of me didn't consider redoing the background, but then I was like, no, I have to redo this. And when I redid it, I
Yeah, so
was,
the store background,
yeah,
right?
I was so like, you can see it at the beginning of the slideshow. Like that's the finished one. The original had so much like thick lines and like I don't know. It was very in progress, and
Hmm.
because I got used to it, I was like, oh, it's not that bad. But drawing it again was the
Yeah.
right choice. There was also like other art stuff that changed, like having more CGs and like all these different cutscenes that got added in, which took a lot of time. Like I remember Nidula would pitch to me like this cutscene, and I would look at it and be like, oh, this scene sounds like it's gonna have what like 50 new 50 new panels,
Yeah.
and I have
I
to
think when
work
I
it.
write it
Yeah,
in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, it's just this, and then this, and
yeah,
then this.
hmm
But when you draw it, it's like,
yeah. I don't know.
yeah,
It's like
that's a lot of drawing, and Julia has to hand draw all of it. So I think you are being a bit harsh on yourself because like even during PAX, when it was more scuffed looking, I guess, um,
mhm.
it was you who was hand drawing all of the background. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, thank God we
in the
changed that.
end, in the end we got here. But something else since PAX that we've improved on a lot is the sounds because I think we had some music during
We only
PAX,
had like the bass music that we
placeholder
yeah,
music.
changed. Thanks to hiring on like Mina Shamali and like Natalie Jeffries who did the sound design. Um,
Yes, so Mina is a composer who did a really great kind of jazzy, I guess lo-fi as well
yeah, I
score.
mean, there's some
Um,
lo-fi because of I requested some lo-fi and it just suits the
yeah,
game.
yeah. I think the music is kind of hard to describe. So it's like it's jazzy, but I think overall it's very kind of thoughtful and kind of
Yeah.
a companion to the mood that you're in while playing the game.
Hmm.
Another thing with the mood is that there's a few layers to a lot of the main store themes that kind of change to match the moods of the customers that you're interacting with.
Hmm.
Um, and there's also a variation for every customer that comes to the store
Yeah. So pay attention.
because we wanted to make sure, yes, so we wanted to make sure that um, all the customers were kind of all their character, sorry,
Oh, good.
their character really. I'm stuttering like Twilight here. I'm just
Wow,
too
you're
in character, you know.
embodying the characters that you. That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that the music matched the characters, and I really like in games when they kind of do that th thing where the soundtrack is dynamic and kind of they have a bass theme and kind of improve on it. That's another thing from Pyre, and there's a few other games that do it,
If
of
you didn't
course.
know by now,
Um,
Nidula is a huge fan of Pyre.
yes, huge super giant fan in general.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, which hopefully the narrative in every Hue of You lives up, or at least follows in the footsteps of I guess being thoughtful and well crafted,
Yeah,
like a lot of Supergiant's games are.
I would say yes.
Um, so yeah, in terms of how the narrative evolved from the early stages, this first scene here is, I guess, one of the things that didn't really change much, but almost everything else has changed quite a bit um, since PAX.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, we edited and improved on the early scenes, and we built a lot of new content. So I think at PAX we probably had like a couple hours or maybe 3 hours of gameplay overall,
Yeah,
and
roughly.
we ended up with around 7 hours.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, but a lot of the narrative development was in making the story, other than obviously writing a bunch, um, was in making the story more cohesive. So with these earlier scenes, um, every time I built a new scene, I would try to like make sure that the earlier scenes are in line with that, and that they're kind of not just, I guess they all come together to be more than a sum of their parts, rather than just, you know, scene one plus scene two plus scene three. It's like a cohesive story.
Mm.
Um,
You also had that
yeah, so I,
giant
yeah,
document
go on.
where with like how many pages now? Like
Oh yeah, true.
that
So
thinking and
last
planning,
year
yeah.
in the panel, I think I mentioned that there was a doc, a planning doc
Mm-hmm.
for every Hue of You story that was around 60 pages at the time. And
Uh-huh.
now, any guesses? I don't know if
I'm
you even know, Julia.
I don't think I
Yeah,
know,
go
but
ahead.
like it has to be at least double. So I'm gonna say like 130.
So it ended up around 200 pages actually.
Bro, publish
Um,
that, write a book.
yeah, that would not be a good
It would
book.
not be a good
That's like
book.
the that's the yeah the
Chicken scratches. Chicken scratching? That's what it is.
yeah, I
Yeah.
say 200 pages, but it's mostly me rambling about like, oh, what do I write about?
But even when you ramble, you do it in cohesive sentences. It's crazy.
Yeah, mostly. Um, but yeah, I don't think all those 200 pages filled with cohesive sentences.
Okay.
But yeah, either way, a lot of that work in those 200 pages is iterating upon these like kind of rough ideas that I had. So obviously when you're planning, I think you do a lot of you know, like you plot out stuff. So like, this happens and then this happens, and um, you kind of plot out the events
Mm.
going from like A to B. But when you're writing it, things change. Like you make up little side plots or subplots and like little things. Oh, it'd be cool
Mm-hmm.
to do this. And in general, you just realize that some things might not work as you intended. Um, so yeah, you end up changing things, and then you have to change the other things in the future and in the past.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of back and forth.
Yes. So yeah, there was a lot of situations where even a month before release, um, I remember some of my friends were like just looking at me like, You're still writing? There's like, isn't there like 2 weeks or 3 weeks
Okay,
left
okay,
until you
okay. Let's
release it?"
talk about the week before release. So,
But yeah, but before that, I just wanted to say like
mhm.
I didn't finish that point. About a month before the we were set to release, I was still coming up with stuff and writing stuff, and I also a lot of the final arc, kind of, I guess, we a lot of the core ideas for that I only came up with towards the end. So this idea of like because the game is like, I guess, a very personal and thoughtful story. So like even the um, I guess the things that happen to us in life, me and you,
Hmm.
and like I'm sure like Mina and everyone else that worked on the game as well, kind of influences that work.
Yeah.
So it ends up being a lot of, like maybe you'll have a change of mind, like, you know what, that's not actually accurate to how things are, so I should change that. And well, yeah, if you want it to be genuine or feel genuine, the story, you end up doing a lot of extra work and just hope that it's appreciated.
You did a good job. You did a good job, man. But
What were we going on to?
oh, I wanted to talk about the week before release. Like that
Oh
was
yes,
so scuffed. Okay,
the
so
disaster week.
let me just preface to everyone who's paying attention and listening right now. But like we basically throughout development, it was all remote, and maybe we met up like once or twice in between like that year and a half's development. But that last week was like ride or die. Like it was like we wanted to avoid crunch, but no one can really avoid crunch. So in that last
Well,
week,
you can.
uh,
You can.
yeah, by extending
If
the
if A,
uh-huh.
you plan things out well. I just
Uh-huh.
skipped through this gameplay here.
Okay.
You can't see it, but I just on instinct to just skip through the dialogue and the crafting
Uh-huh.
a bit quickly, so I'll try to do it
Yeah.
slower
Don't worry
next
about
time.
it.
But
Don't worry
anyway,
about
um, what was I saying? Yeah, so A, if you have good
it.
planning, and B, if you don't get like sick, um, like
Mm-hmm.
literally, I think it was like
In the
three
month.
weeks before
Yeah.
release, and I got sick for like a week, which was not helping. Um, so yeah, anyway, we had to do a bit of rush. So I think we hadn't met up. I think we met up once this whole year by that point.
Yeah, the year
And
started,
then
and for context, we released our game um,
a month
end
ago,
of July.
end of July, so
Yeah,
it's a month and a bit.
yeah. So it was like I saw this guy once, and then in this last week, I saw him more than like probably the entire project like combined. Um,
Yeah.
and
So yeah, we were doing in-person development for like the last week.
yeah,
Um,
thank God I was working on my laptop, otherwise things wouldn't have worked out.
yeah, and so we were doing like just had to suffer through the 12-hour days for a bit.
It literally was 12 hours. We worked for like maybe like 7 hours, 8 hours, probably like more 7, and then we'd go home and work for like another 5. At least I would go home.
But
Yeah.
to be honest, a week of that, a week or two of that, or maybe 3, I can't remember, but
I don't want to remember.
it's not that bad.
Mhm.
I'm sure a lot of AAA devs and so on have it worse. So yeah, we're grateful. We're not just here to complain.
We're grateful. It was just like it's just funny. It's just funny at
Yeah,
this point.
it's a funny story
Yeah.
because yeah, everything. I guess when you're in that position, you're wondering like, are we really gonna get this done? And then I think it was a realization for me like a week before, because I was kind of still feeling like I don't want to work such long hours, and then it's like, no matter what, we're doing it. There's only a week left.
Yeah. Yeah. And guess what? We did it. And we're still alive and filming this panel. So I wouldn't recommend it. It might happen inevitably, but just like try and be prepared.
That's a good question, actually. Would you recommend it?
Would I recommend it? I would.
Everything?
Everything? Okay. The only thing I would recommend is like I didn't realize how good working in person was.
That's true.
Before
It was a lot more
that week crunch.
streamlined.
Yeah. Working in person is very helpful. So if you can or have the means to, you should do that. I'm sure if we start another project, like, we'd consider doing that a bit more often.
Hmm.
But not to that extent that we did for the last week of this game.
Yeah, but the actual release day, I remember it was like a Monday. We were both dead. We were like, it was in the morning. We're like, oh yeah, and there was a final bug where like we had some
Not the
we had some
bugs.
scripting
Yeah.
stuff in that like there was this testing thing we had where it unlocked all the chapters in the game. So actually, I can kind of show. No, I can't show it because I have to go to the menu. But basically, there are some chapters and you can replay them, and we just wanted to make sure that they unlocked properly. So we had the triggers at the start of the game.
Yeah.
So we could like check like, are these triggers working? And then we left it in, and then we're like, oh, the players can unlock all the chapters and just skip to the end of the game, which is
I don't
just
think
not
yeah,
ideal.
that's not a great experience, eh?
Yeah. So yeah, it was like set to release on 10:30 a.m. and we were like scrambling at like 10:28 a.m. like
Did we have to?
make another
Didn't we
build
push
and
it
stuff.
back a little bit?
Yeah, I don't think it's a hard time limit on Steam. I don't know, but it worked out. It was like
Yeah.
a couple minutes later or something.
Yeah, you got the build ready, and we changed it,
But
and
yeah.
then we just
And then we did it. We released, and it was kind of anticlimactic. We kind of just pressed a button.
yeah.
It was
I
like,
mean, I'm sure if you had
really?
like a bigger team or like just more
Yeah.
people, you'd be like,
I'm sure if it was just me and you in my bedroom on a Monday, being like, yeah, so
like
I
after
guess
working 12
we
hours the night before, and it's like, woo, woo.
woo, release.
Oh.
And then we're like, so now what do we do? Oh well, we still have some work to do. So you know, never ends. But
this is the life we
But-
chose.
even when it did end, I think it felt like it hadn't ended, which is one of those things.
I mean,
because we were so
yeah.
used to being in the cycle of testing and then finding a little thing and then testing more.
Yeah, and me like
then
drawing
sometimes, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and then we'd be like, hey, can you draw this little thing here? But yeah, at some point you have to stop, and then I guess when you stop, there's no clear indication that everything is working entirely as you intended. You just kind of have to hope that it is.
Yeah, and you know, maybe wait for people to leave feedback and reviews on the
Yeah.
game saying it's broken, which thankfully we didn't get that. But yeah, it was really weird to like get or like see people leave reviews and actually play the game that we've been working on for so long. And it was crazy because the first review that we got was very much like in depth, and they got the message that we wanted to deliver, and it was like they really understood the game, and it was a moment where it was just like, let's pat ourselves on the back. Let's pat ourselves on the back here. It was
Yeah.
because you know you can only describe your game so much to someone who hasn't played it, and for someone to just play it and
Yeah.
get it is crazy.
Especially for every Hue of You. I think me and you have joked in the past about how there's just so much going on,
Yeah.
and trying to explain it is like, okay, emotions have energy, and you make jewelry, and then you're enchanting it with
Yeah.
emotions, but the emotions come from your customers,
Uh-huh.
and then you want the customers to feel those emotions to be able to enchant it. So
And that's
you have
what
to
the
make
game
them
is
feel the
about,
emotions.
guys.
And then they're giving the jewelry to someone else, like someone close to them. So you want them to feel an emotion that is the same emotion that they want the other person to feel.
Yeah.
But you have to make them feel it. So you have to like try and jog a memory of them that triggers that
You
emotion.
can stop. You
And
can
then
stop.
you have to say everything that I just wrote, and like, I mean, you have to write everything that I just said. in like these descriptions on Steam and stuff,
Yeah.
and just hope that people understand what the heck you're talking about.
Mm.
But yeah, I guess it's one of those games. Um, that was, I guess, one thing that we wanted to do with the genre of the game. We wanted it to be, casual, fun, chill, but also in depth with the ideas and messages and themes. And we wanted it to have like a kind of substantial, structured storyline. So all these like disparate ideas. While it is a lot to explain, and we have seen players be like, "There's a lot going on." Usually, we do see people they understand and pick up things relatively quickly, and yeah, I think it just goes to show like you give players the respect they deserve, and they show you that they're very capable of being of you know
Yeah,
of dealing with whatever ideas you throw at them.
exactly. And after that amazing long-winded explanation of the game,
Yes. Yeah.
just know, guys, we've got a sale going on, and we're really thankful to everyone who has like taken the time to play the game, and also who's like wishlisted or purchased the game in the past, present, and future. Also, yes, there's also Nidula really wanted to. Well, Nidula pitched this idea to me first, and like I agree, it was like a good cause. But at the beginning of our game, there's this splash screen art where we have a percentage of the revenue being donated to a charity, which is Nidula.
Yes, so it's being donated to a couple charities through the Life You Can Save, which is a
Organization.
let's see, a charity evaluator evaluating site, I guess. So basically, what they do is it's an organization that evaluates charities and tries to find the most effective ones in the world. So there's a few of those, like Give Well and Giving What We Can, and yeah. So basically, the idea is that some charities are more effective than others in terms of like converting your money into improving people's lives. So yeah, we're proud to donate a percentage of the revenue from the game to effective charities through the Life You Can Save. And we think that, I guess, because we're dealing with these kind of deep philosophical at times and psychological and these themes that like I guess the goal ultimately is trying to is trying to help people in the story, and obviously with players we want to kind of give them some insight and kind of enrich their worldview and their lives and make them more kind of thoughtful and in general just kind of share these ideas and like trigger discussion about them and so on. So yeah, we're happy to kind of reflect the core messages and themes of the game through this little fundraiser campaign.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we can move on to our last topic, which is what do we think about the final result, the final game? I guess I'll start off. Honestly, the end result is so much better than what I initially thought the game was going to be. And I think that's a combination of like the people we hired along the way who did such like amazing jobs on their parts. Like we mentioned before, like the UI, like before we got the UI artists on, they were like, oh yeah, I mean it's not that bad. I don't think you need to change it. But after we got them on and changed some things around and added new things, it was like, dude, this is night and day. I can't imagine this game.
We were like, it was that bad. Like
it was that bad. It was me. Can't do UI.
Yeah,
Um,
but no, you could do better. You weren't trying that hard.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. And then like the music was incredible. Like the original placeholder, we're like, oh, this isn't bad. But then getting that new music in and getting like the character customized names in as well was like so rewarding, and like really added this depth to our game that I didn't know we were lacking. Um,
Mm.
and then paired with like the sound design, which I was like, oh, well, just pressing buttons, pressing buttons in it, and it was just like adding the sound effects really like made things so much better. It's crazy how many little things just add up and like really make the experience so much better, because I'm just going back to when we first pitched this game, like the PowerPoint that we had, and it's like, wow, this, wow.
Yeah, I guess it was very. I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
just the initial pitch. Yeah, it was very bare bones.
The framework was there,
Um,
but like so many things changed. The gameplay as well. Like, I'm really happy with the fact that we did change it. And everything, despite like all the pain we went through, I think the final product is something that I'm actually really happy with. And I guess a part of me is still just like stuck in like this, oh, I have to work on this game, I have to make it better. And it doesn't feel real to me that it's like published and released and it's already been a month. But yeah, we did that. It's crazy.
mhm. What about you as an artist? How did this game push you?
As an artist, ooh. I mean, I I'm an artist. I've been drawing since I was very young, right? But like,
Yes. How young?
I mean, I started when I was probably 5 or 6, but of course not great, right?
Damn.
Um, and then eventually I got into digital art in high school. Not high school. Pfft, no, that's way too like old. Like end of primary school and then high school. Yeah.
Damn. End of
Um.
primary school.
Yeah. I mean,
You were like you had a tablet and stuff back then?
I had a really scuffed cheap tablet, but I did have one.
I don't think I even knew digital art existed when I was that young.
MS Paint.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, aside from.
yeah, yeah. But like, I I drew so much of, well, of course it's like my role, but like when I normally draw, like before I worked on this game, I'm very like on and off. So I don't draw
Mm,
consistently like those crazed people who have to draw one thing a day. Like I don't do that. So I ended up drawing basically almost like every day or once every 2 days during like the project for like a full year and a half, and I maybe like, I'm not sure. I probably improved a lot, but I just can't see it because artist things. But in
yeah, I know. I
terms,
think you improved a lot. Remember we had like you can't see the screen, but even like Twyla's little portrait, we had a lot of we did a lot of changes to that, and then like the backgrounds, and like
yeah,
you even had the thing like you were saying earlier where you realize yourself like
I was
I
scuffed.
was okay with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think for backgrounds, I definitely improved a lot more. Just because I have a tendency to like avoid backgrounds, but it's unavoidable in this setting. so, so I think I improved a lot, as well as like doing dynamic kind of poses and character sprites. So, in terms of art, oh, also drawing. I don't draw drawing, like, but I drew a lot for this game, which is great. But that's also like with the help of a friend of mine who also helped out with the art, Haley. So very thankful for her. And yeah,
Yes, we had a lot of help with these backgrounds as well, the
mm,
CGs.
the CGs, Haley and
Um,
Irene, shoutouts.
yes, they really helped make these a lot more detailed, and like we really could not do it in this in the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, the amount of detail and polish they added to them is really helped,
Yeah, 100%.
especially with the ending sequence, which, hint hint,
The
no
ending sequence.
spoilers,
Yeah, yeah,
but kind of crazy. Oh my
exactly.
God, what
Well, okay,
happens?
okay, okay.
Who knows?
You're really trying to
Yeah.
add the anticipation here. But,
I
uh-huh.
actually haven't seen anyone comment on the ending yet. So I'm curious
Alright,
to
whoever's
like,
listening, if you end up.
'cause like I feel like
Mm,
personally, like the music and everything combined, I feel like it kind of hits pretty hard, especially in a certain
yeah,
point,
maybe they got hit so hard
which
they just didn't write about it. But tell me, Nadula, what do you think of the final result? And like on the writing side.
um yeah, I think same as you, I was I wasn't even really a writer before this project, which is
What do
weird.
you mean?
Because at some point, I mean, at some point, I was like, wait, when did I like become a writer? And then I was like, wait, I guess I became a writer on this game because before then I was, I guess what you said, except I haven't been writing since I was 5 or
Mm,
whatever. I mean, I have,
you have,
I know how to,
but that's.
I have my pen license,
Oh my
I
god.
can write,
That
but
license. Uh-huh.
yeah, but no, I guess I picked up I moved towards writing at some point because
Mm.
originally I was like more into game design. And then I'm like screw game design. I'm writing.
Uh-huh.
Um,
It was actually crazy how you wrote though, in terms of like having a time constraint and like having to just sit there and think about everything that you've done and tying everything together.
yeah,
Writing
I
under
think
pressure. Hmm.
yeah, it's weird because it's like I said, like I even more than you, I had like very little experience with consistently writing, right?
Yeah.
So like I would write here and there for like little hobby projects, but I didn't have um, a full experience writing for like um,
Yeah.
well,
This is
a
news to
commercial game
me,
of
honestly.
course, but
Uh-huh.
like a game this big, like no way. Um, or any story this big,
Mm.
because I think the total is around 70 to 100k words in the end, which is
Insane.
a, which is a novel size, so it's basically like yeah, it's the size of a novel, right? And like our game especially um, is pretty linear, so um, it's pretty linear, so it's like one cohesive story. So even more so than other games, um, it's more like a novel instead of having different routes and everything. It's less of the choose your own adventure stuff.
Mm.
Though we do have a lot of um, branching and different character exploration options through the choices, but yeah, it was pretty interesting because I guess a lot of my experience writing and like coming up with little ideas. Um, I actually saw a meme about this earlier, but like I did a lot of thinking, I guess, on writing, like thinking on ideas and stuff, but
Mm.
not that much of actual writing. And I guess this project pushed me to actually write, because it turns out you actually have to write the words in order for people to read them, which is pretty
What? Can
crazy.
you can you say
Yeah.
that again? I have to.
You actually have to write the words so that people
People can't
can
read your
like
mind.
read your
Oh
story. They
my
can't just, yeah.
gosh.
No, that actually happened when I was actually writing like last night something, and then I was like,
Mm.
wait, I need to like I need to make stuff more clear because like I don't know, it's just they can't read what's in your head, and like sometimes you just get too caught up in like imagining the scene. Anyway,
Yeah. Well,
tangent, but
I'm
what was I saying?
extremely big as well.
What was I talking about? Yeah, so in terms of consistency, yeah, it helped a lot. I kind of found that being pushed to write and writing in general is like, I guess the thought of it is more daunting than actually doing it. When you're doing it, it's kind of like, um, I guess it's kind of a slow process of like imagining what's happening and trying to picture the characters' lives and like trying to work through different problems of like, like um
Mm.
especially for this game, it would be a lot of like, so I want this to be the, like, let's say I want the emotion that they're enchanting with to be disappointment. So this character has to have a strong memory of disappointment from their past. So what could that be? And then I look at the designs that Julia's drawn up, and I look at what I have so far written out for them in terms of like maybe how they should impact the main story arc, and I kind of have to synthesize all these little things, and um, it's like kind of like a little problem solving thing because you're like, you know,
Mm.
maybe in terms of like Lao, for example, like Lao's a very straight laced kind of a serious guy. So like, what's the kind of backstory behind that? And it turns out, like you just saw here in this Lao's little story just played through here with Hane, the teenage boy that unfortunately he wasn't able to save. Um, yeah, there's a little backstory behind maybe why he's extra serious when he meets Twyla. Extra serious and I guess concerned.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's kind of like a little problem-solving thing, and it sort of came naturally to me, and wasn't, I guess like I said, wasn't as daunting as I thought it would be. Um,
That's also because you
but
think
yeah,
a lot. We're always
yeah.
thinking.
What about you, Julia? Do you think a lot? What do you think?
Why would you ask this question?
I don't
Do
know.
I think a lot?
I just wanted to see your take on this.
Thinking a lot. In terms of thinking,
Yeah,
I
yeah, because
um okay.
you always say that like, yeah, just draw head empty or whatever. But
It's like after for drawing.
I will say before handing it to you, I will say that you put a lot of thought into like, the character designs and the drawing, the environments and stuff, like making sure everything makes sense and it kind of like all works together.
That was also
So
a bit
yeah,
of a
go on.
collaboration, right?
Okay, yeah, true.
Yeah, so Nidula would give me like he'd have an image in his brain of like what this character might look like and send me some reference pictures. And from those reference pictures I would like formulate something that made sense to me and fit in with the world and match their character, etc. I don't know, like for me, like I feel as though I'm a very simple person. So I always have this thought that like if I have this idea, my first idea is usually like the strongest. Um, and that's why I feel like I don't think a lot because it's like, well, the first one's good. I'll do like maybe a couple other ones, but they never like feel as good as the first one. Um, and so I.
Oh yeah, by the way,
Uh huh.
hold on. I can show off the keywords here. This is the keywords that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an idea that was influenced by Pyre. But yeah, basically there's a lot of terminology in the game, and a lot of it is, I mean, it's explained in the story, but we also wanted to allow players to remind themselves here and there.
Yeah, especially if you haven't played the game in a little bit. It's good to be able to look at the glossary, look at the keywords, and get back into the world without having to like replay certain chapters.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying before I interrupted you?
Oh, just me not thinking. Okay. Essentially, it's just
I
like.
was gonna, yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, it was just like I feel like I always have a clear vision in the beginning, so I don't
Yeah.
do a lot of stuff to.
You go with your gut.
Yeah. In between, which is why it's like I don't think I think a lot, but it works out, I think, because my gut instinct is good.
Yeah, no, I think like, I guess a part of this game is like, from my perspective, I guess thinking a lot and being very in my head about things, and all these ideas like these psychological and philosophical ideas and all this terminology and the fantasy world and everything,
Yeah, you have so much going on
it
there.
can get complicated. So like it's good to have another perspective and like have a like ensure that everything is grounded and relatable and like it actually, because there's no point discussing these ideas if they're just like they don't make any sense to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, if I can understand it, players can understand it. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I mean it. Yeah, I guess the one of those things with that, kind of why I wanted to bring it up is like having that like I think I mentioned this on our little radio segment as well, where we have this like kind of different conflicting perspectives sometimes
Yeah.
on things, but it helps in terms of like making the game more well-rounded, having this kind of like more fleshed out perspective. And it's kind of why I think the game is very it appeals to like a wide audience. So like it has the kind of like cute, charming, and friendly, fun vibes, but also the more thoughtful and deep and heavy emotional side as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of going back to the original point before 3 or 4
Tangents. Yeah.
tangents. Yeah, in terms of the narrative, I think I am happy with it overall.
You should be.
The work in the end that we did, especially during those last couple weeks, when we were thinking like, is this going to get done? We have this deadline. Is it going to be done by that deadline to the extent that we want it? And short answer is yeah, it kind of did get done to that extent. Like I said, there's always things you can do to make it better, but I think given what we had available to us in terms of like just our situation, we did well to like with the narrative to like tie everything together and make sure all these little story arcs and threads and subplots and all those little things, making sure they all reference each other and work together and culminate to something meaningful and substantial. In general, I think I'm also happy with the quality of the writing, although it is one of those things where like I think like when in a few months time it'd be good to like go through and have a full replay, and I'm sure I will be like cringing at like small punctuation things or typos here
Don't
and
talk
there,
to me about looking it old up, bro.
But yeah, no, I think in the end, that's just life, it's that's just how it's always going to be. It won't be perfect, but I think it's definitely worth playing in terms of like just the kind of time, money, effort that we want players to invest, that we're expecting players to invest. Yeah, and I think in the end, it has a lot to offer and should be a fun and interesting, thought-provoking little game for people to experience.
Yeah, definitely.
And they can on sale right now. Isn't that right, Julia?
Yes. So our game, Every Hue of You, is now on a 20% off sale. So this is our biggest sale yet. So please grab the game while you have this discount. And if you like don't want to commit to full price, now is the time. Thank you guys for tuning into our panel. We hope that it was enjoyable and you gained a bit of insight into the process of how we made our game and our thoughts about it. And if you are a player of the game or you decide to, play it, please consider leaving a review. And also feel free to add us on our socials at Cactus Jam Games, and we will definitely interact with you.
Yes. But yeah, that's all from us. Hopefully in some years' time, who knows how long, we might have another yeah, we might have another game. Maybe it'll be a visual novel. It's honestly too early to tell, but
yeah,
we'll keep you posted. Don't worry about that. But yeah,
That was Cactus Jam
Hopefully
Games.
in some years.
Exactly.
I was just gonna say, hopefully in some time we'll see
Uh-huh.
each other again.
Yeah, eventually we will. Well, that's Cactus Jam Games. Cactus Jam Games out. Goodbye, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
Bye.